Imagine waking up to a storm so brutal it halts entire cities, where just stepping outside could mean you never make it back. This is the story of Michael Reynolds, a 38-year-old school bus driver from Buffalo, New York, who nearly didn't survive one of the most devastating snowstorms to ever hit North America.
My name is Michael Reynolds. I'm 38 years old, and I live in Buffalo, New York. We're proud of our city, but we're no strangers to snow. Still, nothing could have prepared me for what happened on January 25th, 2026. That morning, a monster storm, which meteorologists called Winter Storm Fern, had already slammed into our state and a huge portion of the country. It brought heavy snow, freezing rain, and incredibly dangerous conditions across dozens of states. Power lines were down, roads were completely blocked, and flights were canceled everywhere. More than 1 million homes had gone dark, from Texas all the way up through the Northeast. Tragically, people were dying from the cold. At least 29 deaths had already been reported nationwide, making it one of the worst storms on record. I worked as a school bus driver, and that morning, despite the chaos, my phone rang. It was an old neighbor, Mrs. Harper. Her voice was shaking. She told me her elderly father, George, had slipped on the ice just outside his door and broken his leg. The roads weren't plowed. The wind was howling like a monster, and the temperatures were dropping fast. An ambulance couldn't get through. Every logical part of my brain told me to stay put, to stay safe. But something else, something deeper, told me I had to help. I pulled on every layer of clothing I owned, wrapped myself up until I could barely move, and climbed into my truck. It felt like I was preparing for a mission to another planet. Within minutes of pulling out of my driveway, the snow was so thick I could barely see the hood of my own truck. The world was just a swirling wall of white. Ice began to coat my windshield like shattered glass, and the wipers struggled to keep up. Then, just as I was getting outside of town, it happened. My tires hit a hidden snowdrift, a solid wall of packed snow buried under the fresh powder. The truck slid sideways, completely out of my control, and slammed hard into a massive tree branch hidden by the blizzard. The engine sputtered, coughed, and then went silent. Total silence, except for the screaming wind. I tried the radio. Nothing but static. I grabbed my phone. No signal, no help. I was utterly alone. I knew staying in the truck was a death sentence. The temperature was dropping, and without the engine, the cab would become a freezer in no time. I took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and stepped out into the whiteout. The wind hit me like a physical blow, cutting through my layers like they were nothing. Every breath I took felt like I was inhaling fire, a sharp, burning pain deep in my chest. The storm was relentless, a force of nature that didn't care who I was or what I was trying to do. I knew with terrifying certainty that if I stayed out there, exposed to the elements for much longer, I wouldn't make it. So I did the only thing I could think of, the one thing I hoped might save my life. I remembered seeing survival shows, reading about how to endure these conditions. I found a deep bank of snow against a small hill and started digging. At first, I used my bare hands, my fingers quickly going numb. The pain was intense. Then, I remembered the emergency shovel I always kept in the back of my truck, a habit born from years of buffalo winters. I scrambled back, grabbed it, and dug with a desperation I've never felt before. I built a tiny snow shelter, more like a hollowed-out cave than anything else. It was just big enough to crawl inside and get out of the wind. I dragged the blankets from my truck in with me and wrapped myself up. But I was already shivering uncontrollably. Inside that small, dark space, I could feel the cold trying to steal every last bit of warmth from my body, trying to lull me into a sleep I knew I wouldn't wake up from. I whispered to myself over and over again, "Stay awake. Don't drift off. Dawn will come." Hours went by, or maybe it was just minutes. Time lost all meaning. It felt like days. I fought to stay conscious, but I could feel myself slipping, my thoughts becoming foggy and distant. I thought about my family, about Mrs. Harper, about George. I wondered if they knew I was out here. And then, through the swirling snow and the howling wind, I heard something. A sound that wasn't the storm. Voices. Distant, but real. I pushed my head out of the opening of my snow cave and saw them, lights, bobbing through the white haze. Search crews. Someone must have seen my truck tracks before they were buried. They were coming for me. The relief was so overwhelming, I almost passed out right there. They pulled me out of my snow cave, wrapped me in emergency blankets, and carefully loaded me onto a rescue sled. I was barely coherent. I just remember the feeling of warmth, even just a little, hitting my face like a miracle. When I finally got to the warming station back in town, I learned the full, devastating scale of the storm. It had claimed lives all across the country. People caught outside, people stranded in their cars, and people in homes without power succumbing to the relentless cold. I was one of the lucky ones. George, Mrs. Harper's father, was eventually rescued by a specialized emergency team later that day. He recovered. In the face of nature's fury, survival is never guaranteed. But what I learned in that tiny snow cave is that when every breath feels frozen, and every heartbeat feels heavy, courage, even the smallest dose of it, can be the spark that brings you back from the edge. It's the will to dig, the will to fight, the will to whisper to yourself, "Stay awake. Dawn will come."
If this story moved you, please share it. Right now, as we speak, millions are facing the reality of extreme weather. Awareness and preparation can save a life. Thank you for listening. Stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay safe.